This is day 4 of my trip to Ohio, my final day in the state. First things first, I need to go and charge the car. Now normally when you drive an EV and you use public charging, you charge the battery to 80% and then stop charging. But today, since I'm having to drive from Columbus to Cleveland and I have to return the car back to the airport, I am charging the battery to 100% to give myself a fighting chance. So on to Iona, which is where we first arrived when coming to Columbus. Once again, I'm not going into details about EV charging or anything like that, but what am I going to do today before I head home? Well, first I'm going to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and Museum, and then after that, I have a special surprise. First things first, we need to get to downtown Cleveland. And no, you're not going to see Drew Carey running down the street or James Ingram singing from the top of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but there's a lot more to see than just that. The best parking for visiting the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is actually next door at the Great Lakes Science Center. You will have to walk through the Science Center and go back outside and walk down the street to the Rock Hall. It's not that long of a walk, but it's still super close by. As you enter the museum, you are greeted by rock music playing and a bunch of decorations that were used in music videos or concerts. And you will see tons of it. When you enter, you will need to have your tickets ready. And be sure to check what time your admission is, as the museum does sell timed admission to get in. Now on my visit today, they had a special exhibit celebrating the 50th anniversary of Saturday Night Live. There were costumes from some of the most popular sketches and notable music performances. And you could watch the best musical acts they had through the years. Moving on, you are then taken through the roots of rock and roll, and then on to how some cities like Cleveland, Detroit, and Memphis, and many more, shape the sounds of rock and roll. On this day too, they had a few artist-themed pinball machines out to play. They were all on free play, but I was sad as the Aerosmith pinball machine was broken. But if you wanted to play something else, maybe a musical instrument, you could do that too. You can head off into the garage here on level 2. If you don't know how to play a certain instrument, you can learn. Or if you know how to play, you can jam out to your heart's desire. But let's continue on to level 3, which is the actual Hall of Fame. It is here where you can look over who was inducted year by year, and it's more than just artists. There are musical acts that have been inducted, as well as industry professionals and people who helped shape rock and roll. The Hall of Fame started inducting people as far back as 1986, so there is a lot to look over. And if you're interested, you can place votes as to who you think should be put into the Hall of Fame. Now keep this in mind too, the artist has to have had a commercial recording at least 25 years ago, so a lot of today's popular musical acts are not eligible. And I'm going to tell you that I actually voted for Phil Collins. Now he's already in the Hall of Fame as a member of Genesis, but not as a solo act, which to me is kind of surprising. Level 3 also contains exhibits from the latest inductees, as well as those who have recently passed. And once again, I am haunted by Jimmy Buffett. I forgot that he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I swear, I can't escape Jimmy Buffett, even in Ohio. Continuing on, Level 4 is Pink Floyd's The Wall, which is a recreation of their performance in Berlin in 1990. Level 5 contains The Legends of Rock. Here you will find many exhibits from past inductees such as song notes, costumes, instruments, and so much more. My favorite things here were one of Michael Jackson's rhinestone-covered gloves and a couple of Tina Turner's iconic dresses. If you would like to see more of Michael's rhinestone-covered gloves, one is on location at the Motown Museum in Detroit, and there are others on display at many Hard Rock Cafe locations around the world. Finally, Level 6 is another special exhibit, Bon Jovi Forever. This floor is an entire exhibit covering the 4 decades of Bon Jovi's career. There were so many never-before-seen items on display. Concert posters, song notes, musical instruments, and so much more. Alright, now that we're done at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Museum, we're off to our next stop. Hey, where's that Christmas music coming from? It's June. Well, forget it. Let's see where we're going. Well, if you don't recognize where we are, you might not, but we're visiting the house from A Christmas Story. Yes, the house from A Christmas Story is in the middle of Cleveland, Ohio. This will be my last stop before going to charge the car and returning it to Budget at Hopkins Airport. Now, for a little bit of a backstory on the house. It was built in the late 1800s and was used for the 1983 movie A Christmas Story. In December 2004, a fan of the film who made replica leg lamps from the movie bought the house on eBay for $150,000 and rebuilt the interior of the home as it looked in the movie down to the last detail. This is actually the second time I've been to the house. The first time was back in the summer of 2009 when I was working at Cedar Point. Now, if you've seen the movie, then you know what the house looked like for the most part. While on the tour of the house, you can sit under the kitchen sink like Randy did, you can use your Little Orphan Annie secret decoder pin to decode the message while on the toilet like Ralphie did, and be sure to drink your Ovaltine. Or, take in the old man's major award looking through the window. Now there is one difference that I noticed this time around. Back in 2009, you could tour the parents' bedroom. You can't today. Well, why not? Well, there's been a change since then. The house is now open to overnight stays for guests. If you have enough people, they will make off Ralphie and Randy's beds, or you can stay in a normal queen-size bed or a pull-out sofa. With room for up to 6 guests, your total to stay at the house is only $545 a night. After touring the house in the backyard, making sure you didn't shoot your eye out with your Red Ryder BB gun, you are taken across the street to the museum, where you can see props from the movie, as well as information about a deleted scene, and much more. Now, there's so much to see that I did have to rush through the museum portion as I was nearing close to having to return the car. If you do want to see more, you're going to have to take a trip to Cleveland for yourself and tour the house. There is also a gift shop where you can purchase your own major award, or a Red Ryder. Now, the closest DC fast charger to the airport was only 50 kilowatts, but it was either that or paying an extra charge to Budget to have them charge the car for me. So I decided to extend the rental for another 30 minutes and charge the car before returning it to Budget. Now, when you rent an EV from Budget or Avis, you do have to return any EV to them with at least 70% stated charge. I gave it back to them with 75% or so, and next thing before you know it, we'll be at Cleveland Hopkins International Airport. After taking the 6-minute shuttle ride back to the terminal, we have to walk all the way down to the opposite end to the United check-in desk. I do feel bad for the people here having to check in and fly Spirit, as well as cutting in the middle of their line. What's your go-to airline? Is it Spirit? United? Somebody else? Go ahead and leave a comment below. Anyways, after checking my bags, I see there's a security line immediately to the left of the check-in counters. If you have TSA pre-check, do not use the security line. This is a regular security line. Now, I do have TSA pre-check, so I actually had to search for the pre-check line, which is actually in the center of the terminal hall. Next stop will be on the other side of security. Okay, now that we're on the other side of security, I'm going to head over to where my gate is. We're departing out of gate C25 today. And if you watch the first video in the series, you'll see that it's a long way to Concourse C. So once again, I'm going to speed this up. Now that we're here, we do have a bit of a wait, so I'm going to get something to eat. And what I didn't know was that I was going to be waiting a little while here in Cleveland. Apparently, storms had rolled into O'Hare and there were traffic restrictions on flights arriving into O'Hare. And this was the last flight of the night with United Airlines to O'Hare. So it was either this or I had to wait to get home tomorrow morning. My flight was supposed to depart at 7:32 p.m. and when everything was said and done, we departed Cleveland at 8:05 p.m. It honestly felt longer than that. Now, while boarding, I did get caught by the flight attendant who told me I needed to stop recording. And I'm not one to poke a bear, But if they ask me to stop recording, I will, which I did. So, we arrived at O'Hare a little after 9 p.m. And if you ever landed at O'Hare, you know that you have a long taxi to your gate, and we drive the plane back to Illinois. I swear, it feels like we landed Kenosha, Wisconsin. Now here, I did not get much footage as I needed to get my bags and I was exhausted by this point. I was more concerned with getting home and staying awake for the drive home. So here's the little bit that I filmed for you. Now as for me, I didn't get my car till about 10:30 p.m. and I arrived home in Milwaukee at about 12:05 a.m. And needless to say, I was ready to get back into my own bed. But that'll do it for this trip to Ohio. My next trip will be to the Iola Old Car Show in Iola, Wisconsin in July. You might see some of your favorite automotive YouTubers or even some classic cars that you might like. As always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.